Design Education by Practice.
Dara?
Yeah, thanks, Ahmed. My name's Dara Tauhidi. I'm a partner with Foster and Partners. Been with Foster's more than 20 years now, which is hard to believe sometimes. And I've been heading up the Dubai office for about the last 5 years. I've done quite a few projects in Dubai over the years, one of which actually was alongside Ahmed. So I was going to talk about the sort of emotional impact of spaces, just leading on from what you said, Ahmed, about architecture and spaces being all about people and how we react to them and how we feel about them. And there's a particular project in London that we did in the early 2000s to rejuvenate Trafalgar Square, and that's really it's become even more of a symbol for London now than it ever was. It's a really successful public space. It's a place where people gather to attend concerts or to look at the artwork that's on show there, and it's even a place where they come and protest if there's something they don't like. But of course, Trafalgar Square wasn't always like this. And if you go back a little bit, around 20 years, to the image on the left, it was really a traffic island. It was incredibly noisy. It was smelly. You really couldn't get to Nelson's Column in the middle, and there was no connectivity. You can imagine the noise and the disturbance of what it was like to be around Trafalgar Square at that time. Whereas the image on the right is the way it is now, and the big change we made was simply just to connect the square to the National Portrait Gallery across the road, and just to allow people to move through that space, to allow people to reclaim it. And of course, the square is no longer a place for pigeons; it's now a place for people. And it really is used by the city, and I think it's fair to say it's loved by a lot of Londoners. So coming back to this idea of measurement, and we talked earlier about measuring temperature and about measuring dimensions, we thought it would be really interesting to explore, could we measure how people react emotionally to spaces? Could we somehow quantify it? And what's enabled us to look at this is the fact that we're no longer just an architecture practice, and because we're asking these kind of big questions, over the years we've been joined by scientists, economists, urban planners, and all sorts of other disciplines which are in the mix there with our architects. And one of these scientists, is Carlos here in the photo. He took up this challenge to see, could we map human emotions? Could we kind of try and understand them a little bit better and how we react to space? And he developed a device and an app which tracks 6 emotional indicators. And he took this device for a little walk as his first experiment around Battersea, where our office is based. You can see on the right-hand side is where our office location is, and you've got Battersea Park around there. He's pretty calm, maybe a bit bored at the office, I don't know. But as he starts to walk across the river, he's obviously getting traffic noise and he's getting people. The level of excitement that this device is measuring is gradually going up and up. So as you get these higher peaks and these more red colors, he's more kind of stimulated in his brain by what's happening around him. And if you can start to actually correlate, if you take photographs and you take sound recordings and play it along with this analysis, you can start to correlate how different events and different spaces actually make us react. And this thing, you wouldn't necessarily, or he wouldn't necessarily be conscious of this. So it's actually measuring something that goes beyond just his experience. And so it's very early days, it's very, very experimental, but we're trying to bring this into our projects now. And the idea that we can try to quantify reactions, people's reactions to different spaces, and then maybe just be a little bit more targeted about how we design. So if we want a space that's going to be naturally calming, we can learn about what those qualities are. If we want a space that's going to get you more kind of excited, we can maybe have a database of what those qualities are. So there's some really interesting opportunities for the future there.
I think again how we affect people. We've received a couple of very interesting suggestions of places that affected people, and probably have left them with thoughts about it. So we had the Shivaji Mumbai International Airport by SOM, David. And we had Muhammad mentioning sustainable city and how it is an experience to live in, having not lived in a villa before, and moving into living in a community forces you to integrate in the community as part of your everyday routine. And everybody has the concept of complete lifestyle, but they actually achieve it uniquely in a different way. Yusuf mentioned the block at D3, again, probably because Yusuf had a relation with D3 as well. But eventually the block at D3 as well is a very interesting park that brings new concepts with the skate park within, with the climbing zone. I can say that this is one of the parks that eventually, when children come to it, they repeatedly say that they want to come back again and want to go to the block. We had the Portofino from Italy, downtown Amman, Jordan, King's Cross redevelopment. Interestingly, Joe, this was actually a case study that Huda was thinking of bringing earlier to the table, and I've seen the slides. It's a very interesting place. We've also had the La Grande Place, Brussels, and haven't been there. Would probably look forward. Downtown Cairo, Egypt. I've been there. You need to watch from the traffic. So the ferry, Port Said, Egypt. That's a very interesting place. It's so authentic. And then Amr saying, how can you know if they are positive, negative emotions? I think this is to you, Dara. He's asking about how can you know if they are positive or negative emotion, these neural activities.
Yeah, so so the device measures, for example, it measures stress levels. So you could say, well, that on the whole is a negative if people are getting overly stressed by an environment. On the other hand, it measures excitement, how stimulated you are by something. So you could say, well, that's a positive. But if there's too much, it depends on context. If you want the space that's calming, and it's providing too much stimulation, then that's not a good thing. So it depends what you're trying to achieve.